Well, g'day everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Weekend Wrap brought to you by CrowCast. Of course, another fantastic win on, not really the weekend, but Thursday night by the Crows, and lots to talk about, of course, regarding that game, but you won't have to listen to me talk about it because joining me, as always, is Big Man. How are you, sir?
You're a bit rattled, mate, because it was on the weekend. It was Saturday.
Oh, yeah, that's right, it was.
You're thinking of the Bulldogs game, mate.
That's right, yeah. Oh, well, how are you anyway?
Good start. No, good mate. Obviously, sorry about my voice. It's still a bit hoarse. This illness just keeps rolling on each week. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was a great win. It was very different to the week prior against the Bulldogs.
Mm.
It was a much more fiercely fought game, and Melbourne brought the heat. But for us to eventually, wrestle the momentum over and get the result, I thought it was a really mature performance from the boys, and exactly the sort of win we need, particularly given the latter circumstances, to beat a team that was just around us. So yeah, very happy with it, mate.
Jake in the chat just pointed out that I still had Tuesday Night Live up on the thing, so I've just changed it now.
Oh
It
boy.
wouldn't be the same if we didn't bloody stuff things up. God. And of course, coming back after I wouldn't say a well-earned break, but a break nonetheless. Brownie, how are you, mate?
Very good, thank you, boss. And again, yeah, I was at the game on Saturday, not Thursday night, and yeah, just a really hard fought game. It was sort of one ugly, but that's not always a bad thing. Um, so yeah, really good to get points.
Yeah, no, it was a hard-fought win, wasn't it? And like you said, not always a bad thing to win ugly, in my opinion, and we certainly did that. Adelaide 11-13-79 to the Dees 9-8-62. We had 10 scoring shots to 1 in the last quarter and sort of ran away with it, which was pleasing. For Adelaide, Miller had 27, Laird had 26, Berry had 24. For the D's, Gawn had 28, Sparrow 28, and Bowie 24. Goal scorers for Adelaide, Rochelli had 3, Dawson 2, Fogarty 2, and for Melbourne, Van Rooyen 3, Chandler 2, and Langford 2. And Brownie, I'll start with you. We're going to have to give the big fella a bit of a chop out tonight because he's still a little bit hoarse, but you were obviously at the game as well. So, how did it look like there? Did it was it as laborious as what it looked like on the telly?
Oh, the big thing I think that you noticed at the game was just, yeah, we just didn't. There was too much. There was just too many people in our forward line, and our entries were bloody consistently horrible. Um, But you did, yeah, like you said, both sides brought the pressure, and that brought a lot of mistakes, and it sort of you thought at some point it might really free up and open up, and it never really did. Like you had a couple of runs of, 2 or 3 goals, but it wasn't like we've seen at other times, where the Hawks will kick 5 in a row, then we've come back with 5 in a row. It was yeah, it was pretty messy the whole game. But it was, yeah, it was a good atmosphere. I don't think the crowd never really got comfortable till probably a minute to go. It was just always one of those games that you thought could go either way.
A lot of PTSD still in the Crows crowd.
No
We're never,
shit.
never comfortable, are we? Um, the thing that it looked like to me on the telly, Big Man and Brownie, was that it was the lesser lights that were keeping us in it for large parts of the game. We had like a cameo from Geordie Dawson this week, not the dominant performance that we've seen over the last couple of weeks. Obviously put some time into him and he can't be up every week. But the thing, Big Man, I guess that pleased me most is some of the lesser lights like Taylor and Nankervis, etc., that really held up and were quite integral to the win in the end.
Yeah, it's amazing. I think back about all those chats we had last year and early this year about team selection. we talked about how these sort of players, that the guys you mentioned among others, weren't getting a regular gig, but when they had previously, they always performed. And look what's happened. Milk's a regular now. Borlase is becoming a regular, and obviously Nake's been given a reasonable run at it. And we're winning games, mate. We're playing better than we have for a while. So it's amazing what can happen when you give the right players opportunity. And they haven't let us down pretty much every time they stepped out in the park. So, and you're right. It's one thing to do it in a I wouldn't say the Bulldogs were an easy team, but certainly that game was on our terms. But in a game where it was very much an arm wrestle for 3.5 quarters, for those lesser lights to stand up and have a real impact on the result, that's really pleasing going forward, because that was probably the most, along with the Geelong game, certainly the most finals-like game we've played for a while, and they stood up, all of them.
Yeah, Brownie, it was a finals-like game. Melbourne really brought the pressure. I think their pressure rating for the match was around the 190 mark, and for large parts of it was over 200. And for us to be able to withstand that sustained pressure, because it hasn't really been our strong point, has it? When teams get up in our faces, we tend to get a bit flustered. But it was really pleasing to see that we continued to be fairly aggressive with our ball movement and didn't wilt.
Yeah, I think if you look at our effort in the finals last year, you could say that we didn't handle the pressure when it was thrown out. Good to see. I mean, we fought their pressure with pressure, and I thought it was both sides really ramped up the pressure. We found ways to get the ball forward. As I said, we weren't clean. Like that last entry inside 50 wasn't clean, but we had a lot of them. And I think, we were trying to use handball more. I think it's going to be a case that we just need to keep playing that game where we're moving the ball quicker and we'll get better. Like our handball wasn't always perfectly clean, and we do handball sometimes to people that are under pressure and that kind of thing. But it's a case of they've got to be not afraid to make mistakes, and I'll give them permission to actually try and be creative. And the more they do it, the better they'll get. But I thought, it was real. That was probably one of the best efforts. We never got. It was the first time that we never Melbourne might have got a couple of goals ahead at one point. I think at the most, we never got to a point where you thought we're too far away, we're not going to win. We stayed. We just kept reacting, and it was just a really consistent performance, I thought.
Yeah, I agree with that. Our entries were a bit rubbish. During the course of particularly the first couple of quarters, pretty average. It did kind of tidy up a little bit, but they certainly didn't allow us that open forward line. The goals were hard fought. It wasn't until the last quarter where we got a couple of lead ups and looked a little bit cleaner. And I think to be honest with you, I think Melbourne fatigued a little bit in that last quarter. But they're the sort of games you don't always get games on your own terms, and it's not always going to be a fast deck like Marvel. And the weather, even though it stayed dry, it had been a wet week, so it was pretty heavy underfoot, etc. So they're the sort of gutsy wins that in the past we've been prone to dropping, and it was such an important game in the context of where we sit in the season, that it was really good that they withheld the pressure. And as I said, the young lads were largely responsible, although I've got to say it was great to see Rankin back, because I felt particularly in the first half he started really well and looked to be up and about, and we can all acknowledge that Boss was completely wrong about bringing in Mark Keane, because he was an absolute standout.
Yeah, that was
No, you go, mate.
Sorry. All right. They were both interesting selections, weren't they? I mean, in terms of Rankin, I was surprised that he was playing in the guts from the opening bounce. I expected a lot more a lot more forward time than he actually got. So that was good that we backed him in and obviously trusted that his body was right to go. He died out a bit in the second half, but you're right. He actually was one of our better players early on when, things weren't going particularly well, particularly in that first quarter. And then Mark Keane, I mean, I'm with you, boss. Like I was thinking that he probably needed another week or two. And then obviously the Worrell thing happened with his illness. So it made sense to bring Keane in, but he was an absolute duck to water.
Amazing!
He
He got
played
towed
exactly
up against North Adelaide. He got absolutely destroyed the previous week at the SANFL. And he just looked a step off, didn't he, big man?
Yeah, and it's crazy that you can then step up into a high pressure game at the Adelaide Oval against the informed team and look like you haven't missed a bloody training session all year. He was that sharp. He was taking intercept marks. He was hitting those beautiful kicks that we know he can do. I barely made a mistake all day. So, I mean, he obviously stays in, and that's going to cause selection conundrums going forward, which isn't
Massive
necessarily
conundrums.
a bad thing. But no, that was great to see, and it's just a reminder of how much we missed him because he's such an important part of how we move the ball from defence, and he's someone who loves to take a risk. I think he thrives on taking risks, and
Must be in the Irish
always
blood.
hits them too. Potentially, yeah. I mean, I was wrapped. He was the highest rated player on the ground, and it certainly looked like that watching it.
Yeah, he and we'll get into individuals a bit later on, but just to finish off this little topic, the fact that he had the confidence to hit those passes first game back after having been out for best part of 3 months or whatever it was elite. And at times in the past, when Mark's got the ball in hand, you kind of got your heart in your mouth a little bit because he does like to bite off a bit more than he can chew at times. But my God, it makes such a difference to our ball movement, and I think it's actually really integral to our ball movement, Brownie. One or two blokes like that, and I think Hugo as well coming back in, not coming back in, but being inserted into the side, who's also a good kick. And then, of course, Miller. All of a sudden, after lamenting for large parts of the season, Brownie, that we didn't have a lot of good disposals out of the back half, now we've got 3 of them.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I was going to say, if you look back 4 or 5 weeks ago, we had Miller, and we were lamenting, we're not getting anything exciting out of Laird, we're not getting anything out of Butts. We're holding the ball too long. All of a sudden, we've got guys that are marking the ball and moving and automatically looking up the guts to try and find a target. And like Keane a couple of times went sort of through the slice through the middle and just found a loose person, and then we had the run and the overlap going, and it was we just look a way better side when we're moving that ball from defence quicker. And I thought we might need sort of to get Hinge back for that to happen, but it's happened sooner than I thought. I think that's going to be a real positive going forward if we can keep them all healthy.
Yeah, 100%. And I think what I like about the way we've been playing since the bye is we've certainly looked to be moving the ball more quickly, but we haven't just gone the Swans 2.0 or the Geelong 2.0 with frenetic handball and all that. I like the fact that we're moving the ball quickly by foot, and it feels to me, big man, that we're probably the only side that move the ball as aggressively as we do, but by foot rather than by hand. Would that be a fair call?
Well,
I think Hawthorn do a little bit.
If you look at the past 2 weeks in particular, very high disposal games and obviously very high kick and uncontested games. But aside from a few patches here or there on Saturday, it wasn't a lot of just chipping around aimlessly. There was actually quite a bit of productive, forward ball movement in terms of our foot skills. It obviously didn't pay off much because of our woeful forward entries, but I think we were actually quite proactive, and Keane was a big part of that because he's so willing to kick off one step and go straight away the first option he sees.
Yeah.
And he trusts his leg, unlike a few other guys in our back line. But now that he got Hugo back there as well, that's an extra player that also trusts his leg and is willing to bite off some tougher kicks. So I think that those guys in the team helps, but just in general, it does seem like we are more, we're more excited to watch. Put it that way. Even when we weren't playing that well in the first quarter, there was some chains where I was really happy with it. It was just the finishing part that let us down. And it didn't help that bloody Melbourne were kicking goals from everywhere outside 50, and it just seemed to be falling their way. But I think for most of the game, I felt like we obviously the possessions suggested, but it felt like we had the game reasonably on our terms, but we just weren't getting the rewards for it. And I was worried that at some point we're going to drop our heads, but luckily it sort of really clicked in that last quarter, and we owned that last quarter basically. And yeah, I mean,
yeah, they weren't looking.
I'm rambling on a bit here, but no, just go back to your point, mate. Yeah,
it's not like you.
More... No.
I gotta say that on the telly it was like every bounce was going their way, every spilled ball out of the pack was going their way, every crumb was bouncing their way. Like it seemed, I was watching it going, oh, this is just one of those games where absolutely nothing is going to go right for us. And again, another time when usually those sorts of games that we sometimes have end up being a disappointing loss, but we. I don't know whether it looked that way at the ground, Brownie, but on the telly it was just like every possible little flick or bounce or whatever went their way, particularly in the first half.
Yeah, in the first quarter, I reckon 3 times when they were under extreme pressure, they just did a dump kick and it just bloody landed in a Melbourne player's lap. And it's like, that can't be happening. And it just kept happening. And bounces and even a few umpiring decisions seemed to go their way. But overall, that first half it seemed like that, but then it settled down. But yeah, I was worried early. I just thought this might be a game where things aren't gonna happen for us. But no, we stuck at it and stuck at it. And overall, if you're unhappy with that, even though it was only a 17-point win, and if we kick straight and use the ball a bit better in that last quarter, we could easily won by 30 or 40.
Yeah, it seemed like by the end of it we were well on top. Pardon me, and sort of running away with it, I guess you'd say. But it took a while to break the shackles, and credit to Melbourne. They've done particularly well to turn that side around in such a short space of time. And they were ultra competitive, and as someone I think mentioned in the chat, a lot of no-name players that have obviously only just been given an opportunity under Stephen King, and he's doing a great job with them and should be commended.
I think a lot of us, including myself included, were thinking they were bottom 5, 6 material heading to the year because they lost, Steve May and then obviously Oliver and Petrarca. But they've actually thrived under. I mean, it just, to me, it says that Stephen King's a good coach because he's getting a lot out of this team already.
Yep.
And I will admit that there's something to note that Melbourne are the only team to have a round 16 bye that didn't play an opening round, so they didn't have an extra that early season bye as well to have a rest. So they've actually played 15 games straight. Which probably was a factor in how fatigued they were late in the game when we started to run away with it. So that is a bit of a caveat. I still think we would have won the game, but I think it's worth mentioning and it probably says a lot about how well they were going up until that point.
Yeah, well, they certainly did tail off at the end, but nonetheless, I think that was as much to do with our sustained pressure as anything else. Just running through some team stats, Adelaide 254 kicks to Melbourne 192, handballs 156 to 163, contested possessions 134 to 146, uncontested 269 to Adelaide 198. That was indicative of our kicking game. Inside 50s 55 to 58, fairly even. Rebound 50s 47 to 44. Clangers were much cleaner with the ball. I think we went at, what do we go at? Disposal efficiency, nearly 80%, which in those conditions is pretty commendable compared to their 68. So we had 52 clangers, they had 75. Freeze relatively even, although I didn't think it was a particularly well umpired game either way, to be honest with you. Some weird ass decisions. we're getting used to that. But very much a tale of two different styles. I think Melbourne play a simpler style. Very much, they're probably where we were a couple of years ago with regards to relying very much on contests and ground ball and getting the ball forward. Whereas I feel like, Brownie, that we're starting to see that Crows brand that's quite recognisable, which is lots of frontal pressure, fast ball movement by foot. But in the last 3 weeks, the thing that I've noticed more than anything else is our repeat entries inside 50. Our ability to keep the ball and turn the ball over in the forward half is something that had been missing in the first half of the season, and it looks to me, just the eye test, that's really returned to us. And if you have a look at Score Origins, we got most of our scores from the defensive half, but we did get 3 goals, 7 from forward half Origin, and those repeat entries could have actually resulted in a much higher score had we been more accurate.
Yeah, I thought our defensive work from our forward line was pretty good, especially when you consider how big we were forward. Our small guys were good. I thought the wingers and the on-ballers were coming down and really doing a good job as well. I think it was a real team effort. And obviously, that's something they pride themselves on when they're playing good footy is making it hard for the defence to get the ball out. And like you say, had it gone to plan and we had better entries, we probably would have really benefited from that. But and I think, like you said, that frontal pressure. We're always so much better side when our pressure level is high, which is why I still can't get my head around why it wasn't high in the finals last year. But it's pleasing to see that we're doing it. We're starting to do it consistently. We're moving the ball, quicker by foot, like you say. But I do think we're trying to bring a bit more handball into the game as well, because I think that's the weakness. If you're just moving it by foot, you can be countered. But we're starting to try and get a little bit of overlap going. And like I said before, it's not working for us all the time, but I think it's something you've got to have that in your back pocket in case you need it, and we've got to keep trying it. It didn't work all the time, but we're certainly actively looking for more handballs, and there's a little bit more sort of in terms of options running past now. So I think things are on the right trajectory for sure.
I don't think they have pockets in their shorts in footy games, but tackling 67 to 49 highlights that pressure. Tackles inside 50, tackles in forward half. Where are we? How many stats? Tackles inside 50. Where are you? 9 to 6. Tackles overall 67 to 49. Was really good. Marks 138 to 62. Marks inside 50 11 to 6. Contested marks 16 to 3 was really dominant, and largely thanks to blokes like Nan Curvis and Dan Curtin, who were both very, very good and such handy players on a wing to be able to have that aerial bailout. Stoppage clearances 26 to 29. Centre clearances we got towed up a little bit, 5 to 13. I felt like McAndrew battled well, but Gawn is such a quality player, and if you have a look at the hit-outs to first possessions, they had 48.6% of their hit-outs went to their next, or they had the next possession, compared to our 35.1. So it wasn't destruction by any means. In fact, we won more hit-outs than them overall, but hit-outs to advantage was 9 to 12 in their favour. What do you think of McAndrew, big man?
Yeah, look, look, he's up against one of the best rucks of all time, maybe the best. So it was always going to be a tough ask. And I thought he did reasonably well. Definitely was getting a bit of a lesson at times, but I actually thought he played his best quarter after he came back from the bloody elbow to the face. I thought he really stood up in that last quarter, and that was a big effort from him because, with him down and Max running riot, that
it
could have
could have
been a
been.
bit of a deciding factor.
Yeah,
So we know how good Max is, particularly in last quarters. He's so fit. And one thing I did like, and this wasn't just because of McAndrew, but Max didn't take a lot of those big marks down the line that he tends to do. He had the one contested mark, but that didn't really, he didn't have nearly as much aerial presence as he has in other games this year. It was his tap work, which definitely was a difference. Some of those clearances, those taps hit outs to advantage for Max were pretty impressive. Not that McAndrew didn't have a few good ones himself, but yeah, he was getting a bit of a lesson there. And I think McAndrew at the moment has to work on his boundary throw-ins. He seems to, I don't know if it's a core strength issue or whatever it is, but whether he's misjudging them, I'm not sure. But he does get moved around quite a bit or caught behind at boundary throw-ins, and seems much more, confident at the around the ground stoppages and obviously in the centre as well. So probably an area for him to work on. But I just love the way he fought back, and in the end, he actually had quite an important part to play in getting us over the line. So I think it says a lot about how bloody tough the guy is. He plays tough, and he's been hurt a few times now, and just keeps coming back and getting the job done. So I mean, I think we're all big fans of him and what everything's doing this year.
I didn't hear it, but apparently Rowie was giving him shit on the call, saying he'd making a meal of the injury and all the rest of it. To me, it looked like he'd busted his cheekbone, so I don't know what Rowie's on, but they need to tone down their friendship with Riley O'Brien, because the way Riley O'Brien played against Nord on Saturday or yesterday, whenever it was, today, whenever, he was shit. So they need to just let that go and be objective, because you don't get an elbow in the face and make a meal of it. They can be pretty painful. All right.
Absolutely, boss.
Thanks, Brownie, for just filling that void.
I will say, boss, that I actually think there's a window where Rob could come in to just give McAndrew a breast.
Nah.
A breast?
No.
A breast?
I was gonna say a break, and then I changed it to a rest, and I was too late. I already said the peeper. But
sorry, I didn't mean to make you feel like a tit.
Oh, thanks, mate. Look, there's a couple of games. There's a game against Richmond, and there's another one against Essendon. That, if we're going to be smart about McAndrew and manage him, I think that's a week to give him a rest. Hopefully he's all right to go next week, and there's nothing too sinister with the cheekbone. But otherwise, obviously, I think Rob obviously can't get back in the team. But just something to flag. I think in a few weeks it wouldn't be a bad opportunity just to give him a week off.
Yeah, see, Brownie, I don't think you mess with form. I think as long as he's going all right, he doesn't need a rest, the big fella.
Well, if you look at the way he runs his ass off for 4 quarters, and he never seemed like he always seems to be able to go for that next contest. If you saw bloody Philthorpe for that 20 minutes when McAndrew was off, I've never seen someone shit themselves.
What's going on with him? What's going on with him?
He was
completely
looking good. Yeah, he couldn't even get to the throw-in. Couldn't even get to the contest, and he was like 20 meters behind, gone. And I thought, God, he's gone. And then he came good when he went off and had a rest. But he obviously hasn't got a massive tank, which made me realise how fit McAndrew is. He doesn't ever he looks tired at times, but he still gives that effort, and he still gets to every contest. And he still takes marks in the fourth quarter. He still takes marks, So, yeah, I reckon he's pretty young. I wouldn't be messing with him unless we can get Sam Jacobs back. I reckon we bloody just stick with what we got.
Big man, just on Riley. I don't know whether you've been out of training the last couple of weeks, being crook, but does he get through sessions all right? Has he had to sit out much with his back, or what's going on there? Because I must admit, I was shocked that one boundary thrown on the member's side that he didn't even contest and then came straight off the ground. What's going on there?
Look, It's hard with the home games. The main sessions at Adelaide Oval, so I can't see those ones. But the away games are much easier because that's obviously at Amy. When I do see him, usually I don't know about this week, but usually he's just running laps, doing his own thing for quite a bit of it, and then might pop in for some match scene here or there. But he just looks like someone that hasn't been able to train, particularly consistently for quite some time, and eventually they get you, and your tank goes down, and it looks like someone that's. I mean, we're talking about a guy that's one of our best runners, by the way. Like,
well, that's why it was so surprising.
Right up there in our time trials and everything. But I just don't think he's at that level of fitness at the moment, and a lot of that's because of the back. He just hasn't been able to get the miles in the legs, so it's a concern. It was definitely pretty damning, but look, maybe he was ill. I don't know. It could be cold. Worrell was ill. Maybe he got some of that, but I'm trying to give him an excuse here, but it wasn't exactly great to see. To the eye, that was it was definitely a big concern in that last quarter.
I mean, I felt like, in patches he played all right. He gave an option, etc. And in the last quarter, a couple of nice lead-ups and, finished the game all right. But I'm prepared to give him a chop out because he's obviously been playing under duress. But, I'm hopeful that it's a physical thing that he's just working through and they're just trying to get him through games and, probably a 2/3 fit Thorpe is better than none as long as we're not doing any permanent damage to him. But, geez, it was a bit confronting when he couldn't even go to a bloody boundary throw-in, in the third quarter. That was pretty shocking. Anyway, and someone mentioned in the chat, and you mentioned about McAndrew and his boundary line throw-ins. I agree with you. It's probably the hardest part of the art, I reckon, because it's so variable, big man. But I got to say, they got rid of the bounce because it was too hard for umpires to bounce the ball, and I could probably understand that because it's a fairly unique skill. But how hard is it to throw the ball over your head, big man?
Very hard, apparently.
My lord. It's not been a problem until the last couple of years when all of a sudden and they've changed their technique. They've gone from doing a straight over the head, like straight over the nose kind of throw to one of these bloody sidearm things, like the under 10s. And it's just not working out. I just don't understand why they can't train and hit a mark in a consistent spot 9 times out of 10. If all your job is to be a freaking boundary umpire.
Well, mate, a lot of things the AFL do confuse me, so that's one of a long, long list.
Oh, man. I just... It's so frustrating. These little... Like the umpiring in general, Andrew Dillon comes out and says it's great and all the rest of it. I don't think it's actually been in a worse position that it currently is. I reckon it's absolute shit at the moment.
Oh, and just an earlier Hall of Flame. This bloody lasso roll.
Oh,
it's not working.
We did this last week.
How many times,
big man?
How many times are they actually pausing the game now to have a bloody chin wag for about 30 seconds as to whether it was touched or whether it came off or it was a throw-in? Then they get the arc involved. It's slowing the game down. The SANFL, they did it right. It was not for incidental contact. It was just if you kicked it or handballed it over. So they've stuffed up a rule that was already working. That's
as they always do. It's exactly what we said on Tuesday night, big man, last week.
Yeah, and they want the game to run quicker and smoother, but then they're wasting time having all this deliberation. It happened. 1 or 2 times in our game, and it's happened a lot on this week. I think it's getting worse.
But it's variable too, because they only review it if they've got time to review it. If a team gets the ball and just assumes it's theirs and plays on, they just let it go.
Yeah, and also, there was one instance today I saw where the player, I think it was for Richmond or North, they knew it was their ball, and they were trying to, get it inside 50 quickly, but the bloody umpire stopped it to bloody review it. By the time he got the ball again, all the defenders had flooded back, and there was no easy, entry inside 50. So it's actually negatively affecting players and their ball movement now as well. It's just killing all game flow. It's ridiculous, mate.
I mean, Brownie, how can they look at the rule that's been running in the SANFL without any problems for years now? I've never ever seen a disputed last touch rule call in the SANFL, or very rarely. How can they look at that, watch that, and go, all right, we're going to implement that, and then completely fuck it up? How much of a genius do you have to be?
It tends to be the AFL's way. They bring in a new rule and then they try and complicate it. Instead of just bringing in a rule and saying, these are the parameters, everyone does it the same every time. But they can't seem to do that. It's like when they brought the holding the ball rule in, and then there were people getting tackled and getting hurt. Then they had to change the rule that that the umpires have got to blow straight away. It's just they tinker with the rules within the season, and that's the thing that frustrates like the general
Everyone.
public, but it must frustrate the players as well.
Oh yeah,
because it's just
100%.
ridiculous.
100%. Well, you get to the point where they don't know what the rules are, and we've seen confusion about running the ball over the line when you can and when you can't, and all that sort of stuff. And just because the players don't know from one week to the next what's going on, and I've got this theory that Victorians in general, and pardon me, apologies to the Victorians in our community, but Victorians in general, but Victorians involved in the AFL particularly, have a real control issue. They just want to control every outcome, and they want to cover off every possible contingency. And our game is such a random game with so many variables. You just cannot cover off every possible eventuality. The MRO and the whole tribunal system is exactly the same, and it ends up, that young lad from North last week, Curtis, got 3 matches for a tackle that someone else lays and gets a fine or doesn't get anything. Thilthorpe gets a week for a tap in the guts. The next week, Marshall bloody brings Hogan to his knees for 2 minutes and gets a fine. I mean, it shouldn't be this difficult, should it? I mean, either of you.
So, I was waiting for Brownie.
He must have been having a cough. But no, you're right. It shouldn't be. Problem is, it is going to continue to be like that. They don't ever admit fault when they get challenged by the media or they get challenged by coaches. They don't ever admit fault and say, yes, we'll do something about it. They just they back their umpires to the hilt. They back bloody Michael Christian. How the hell he's still got a job, I don't know. Like the inconsistency in his interpretation from one week to the next is insane. And no one ever questions it within the AFL. Like the media question it, the players question it. They're like untouchable, and there's a level of arrogance that they don't want to admit they fucked up. Like with that what do they call it when they do the video review when the ball goes over for a score?
Yeah,
Like the commentators, the arc, the commentators going on about that one with Fog, where it went through for a point, and then they wanted a review because they thought, oh, maybe it came off his lower leg.
yeah.
And the commentators were going on about that. How come they're reviewing that? Well, after that error a couple of weeks ago, early in the game, where there was a goal scored that wasn't reviewed, now they are reviewing it. But again, there's inconsistencies, and the commentators don't even know what they're going to do.
Yeah, but they were wrong. The commentators are wrong then, because it was actually the goal umpire that asked for the review.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I'm saying. But the commentators don't even know what's going on. They're that confused. They're saying, why is it and after that episode 2 weeks ago when that goal was scored, was that the Hawthorn game? I can't remember, whatever it was. That should be an ongoing thing that they review every potential point that could have been a goal or vice versa. But I'll bet you it won't happen. It won't happen every game. There'll be times where they don't review it and they'll screw up again.
And the problem is, because of the natural bias in the system, it tends to be us that gets the bloody rough end of the stick.
Yep. And I know this is like some Tuesday Night Live stuff, and I'm sure we'll get back to the game quickly, but just to add further to this, like the MRO, I saw Ginnivan multiple times punching bloke on the ground
Yep.
on Friday night. I saw Toby Green give someone a whack as he was running past. I think it was Nick Newman.
Yep.
And yet, just fines. But, you know, when Thilthorpe did it, that's a week.
Yeah, and then dickheads on Sunday Footy Show have the temerity to say Thilthorpe's was the worst. Meat got up the moment he knew he wasn't getting a free, whereas Hogan couldn't get up because he was bloody winded. I mean, Jesus.
Oh, they're the Marshall one, yeah. I mean, I expect it now. I'm not surprised, but I'm still like, at the same time, it's just depressing to see how bullshit Michael Christian's work is. The Tribunal isn't much better. Like Paul, who was it that appealed but didn't get off? Someone did recently. I can't remember who, but they should have got off. And
Curtis did.
I don't think he appealed though, did he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he appealed.
I thought. Oh, he did. Okay, well, that's bullshit. That was just unfortunate. But yeah, it drives me nuts, man. And the worst part is that we seem to get the worst of it, of any team, pretty much.
Anyway, let's straighten up, because me and Macca actually did talk about all of that last Tuesday, but it's so frustrating. You could make a whole bloody podcast on this sort of shit every week, and it drives me crazy because we've got such a great game on our hands, and just the powers that be at the moment are just making an absolute mess of it, which is frustrating. All right, let's have a look at some individuals, shall we? Because there were a few people playing this game, Brownie, and we probably should highlight a few of them. And let's start with the bloke that Phoenix said on Tuesday night was at least 2 weeks away for some unknown reason. Mark Keane, fantastic game from Mark Keane, I thought. Just an absolute seamless return to proceedings, and as we mentioned before, we won't spend too much time on them, but as we mentioned before, just you don't realise what you're missing until it's gone, do you?
Yeah, I think he's one of those guys that, as much as he had a average game in the sample last week, I think he's one of those guys that is motivated at the highest level, and he's always going to give when he gets to the highest level. And he just came back in that team and just fit like a glove. It was just fantastic, and I thought his marking for someone that hasn't played for a few weeks was bloody awesome. But his disposal, I thought that might have been, under pressure, trying to take a few risky kicks. I thought, gee, that's going to be, might be his downfall, and it was almost seamless. I don't remember one real howler. I think everything was pretty much hitting target, and his aggressive nature. It was bloody fantastic to see him back. And now, yeah, as you said, he's staying, but yeah, someone's going to make way for Laurel. I don't know who that poor bugger's going to be.
Well, it's an interesting question because you don't want to just replace a bloke just for the sake of it, and I think all of our defenders have probably earned their stripes when they've come in. It's been very rare that one of our players has had his colours lowered, but at the moment you'd say our best combination with Keane back in the side and obviously in form would probably be Worrell, Keane and Borlase. And you wouldn't have said that 6 months ago.
Well, the thing is, and you've mentioned this in the past, boss. I'll give you credit for that.
Thanks, mate.
That the way Keane plays, you almost don't have to play him as a key defender. He could just be another rebounding, backman. So is there a world where you can bring in Worrell and still keep all these defenders in the team, or was that like overload? Because I'm just thinking none of them should get dropped. But Keane, he's almost just as good, or he is just as good as a rebounding player than he is as an actual stopping defender.
Well, I think to an extent, and it's a bit concerning. I've got your bloody DD thing up, and it's sitting right next to my face. Just let me move that because it's freaking me out, big man. And just move him over here.
I saw that ad yesterday. Oh, fuck, I can't stand it.
Brownie, for your information,
Yeah,
because
the
Big
one where-
Man gave me shit on Big Footy, called me an old man, I decided to change him from Arnie Schwarzenegger to that little strange short man on that DD ad with the long blonde hair and the orange shorts.
Okay,
I,
that's harsh.
I didn't realize. I didn't realize it was an extended version because it's like he comes out of nowhere and he's like, "How you going?" or something, or some shit like that. I was like, "Oh no."
Keane, 18 kicks, 4 handballs, 5 tackles, 10 marks, 9 contested and 11 uncontested possessions, 4 rebound 50s, 9 intercepts. I mean, look, to your question, mate, I think it's probably going to come down to horses for courses. There's going to be times where we're going to need a couple of bigger defenders depending on how they match up. But I'm not opposed to having Keane, Worrell, and one of Borlase, Murray or Butts in the side, because I think you can probably, as I've kind of been banging on a little bit and you mentioned it, you could probably include Keane almost in the rotations with the 2 half-backs these days. And if you include Worrell in that, although he's not quite that same, like he's certainly an intercept defender, but he's obviously not a distributor. But, I think it just gives us some versatility, and I think it will be a bit of a horses for courses. But Borlase is certainly part of that equation now, but Mark Keane's just reminded us of how important he is.
Yeah, without doubt. And the other thing that makes it really difficult is I thought like Nick Murray slotted in after a bit of a break pretty well as well.
Yeah, the only thing about Muzz that worries me is he lets a few get over the back. Comes in with a big spoil, and if he doesn't flush it, because he's thrown himself so heavily at the contest, he's got no recovery whatsoever, and the ball gets over the back. And we've been exposed a few times on the last 2 or 3 weeks with him in, with that happening. But having said that, I felt like he's certainly been playing better than the back end of last season when he came back.
Yeah, I thought that was the best he looked for a while because he was actually going for his marks. Like a lot of this year, I think that when he played earlier in the season, he was spoiling when he could have clearly marked the ball, and he just didn't have confidence. But he was going launching at marks and he was taking them in one grab, and he looked really good. So yeah, we're certainly going to be sport for choice going into finals if they all stay on the park.
What would be your preferred setup, Big Man?
Oh boy. Well, I think at the very least you need one genuine stopper. Verbally, yeah. I mean, Keane gets in regardless. He's the best of the bunch. And then, I mean, Worrell's obviously, if he's ready to go, who knows how bad this illness is. Maybe it's enough to keep him out for the showdown. But assuming he's fit to go, then he has to play. And I mean, on paper, it'd be too much to keep them all. And I think Murray's the one who makes way because Borlase originally came in for Murray and hasn't put a foot wrong since coming back into the team, round 8 or 9, whenever it was. And look, Murray's made his way back in because Butts is injured, but Borlase was in first, which suggests to me that's how they're going to roll. If the push comes to shove, they're going to drop Murray instead of Borlase, which is a big call, though, because I think theoretically, Georgiades, Murray's probably your best matchup for Georgiades with Butts out. But, in terms of form line and selection integrity, Borlase has to stay. So I think Murray's the one that unfortunately makes way.
See, I think you can make a case for that. I'd probably counter with the fact that I think Nick Murray isn't in the same competition as Borlase. I think Borlase and Butts are our 2 lockdown stoppers. Neither, Borlase, as good as he's been, is particularly slow and stodgy both by foot and also just along the ground. And he worries me when the ball's on the deck. He's not very good with the ball on the deck. But I mean, it's so easy to forget the qualities of these players. But Geordie Butts has shown himself to be, an A-grade key position defender that can take on the really big tools. Doesn't lack for pace, and marginally, it was probably 6 of one, half a dozen of the other by disposal. I think Nick Murray is an out and out centre half back, and as much as he is taking his time getting back, and he has his limitations, he does let the ball get out the back, as I mentioned before. He's got far more mobility than the other two, and like Brownie said, he's fantastic in the air, and he's only going to improve as he gets more confidence. So I think it's out of ball ace and butts for that fullback role, if you like, traditional fullback role, with Keane, Worrell, and Murray as the others. I don't think Nick Murray is in the same conversation as butts and ball ace. Brownie, what do you think about that?
Yeah, you're probably right. Although, like this week, for example, coming up, Georgiadis is, if he plays full forward, Murray's going to have to play on him because he's the only one that's got the pace and the aerial ability to go with him. I do like you say, I do think Nick Murray as a centre half back in a perfect world would be the perfect role for him. But I think this week we haven't got a choice. We've got it. I think he has to stay in the team because we just don't have a matchup for Georgiadis without him.
Yeah, that's true. And that's kind of what I was saying before. It has to be a little bit of horses for courses, and we're just so bloody lucky that we've got such a variety. And I haven't even talked about Max Michelani yet, who can play tall or small down back. All of a sudden we've got Michelani, we've got Miller, we've got Hugh Hawkhan, we've got Mark Keane is that hybrid, but certainly a distributor. It's a very powerful back six, with probably a couple. You could probably afford to carry them if you're prepared to perhaps mix and match with Max and Miller, maybe playing up the ground a little bit at times, like higher up on a wing or something like that, to give Curtin a chop out, or I don't know. I just, like, none of them deserve not to be in the side at the moment.
It's funny you mentioned that because someone should tell Kane Corns that, mate. He thinks we badly need a key defender or two.
I know, he's crazy.
I don't understand.
I don't know what got down that road.
He's so obsessed with us, yet he can't realise the actual makeup of our list. But anyway, the Max one's an interesting thing because we played him on Jeremy Cameron twice now to quite great effect. And I know Georgiadis is probably a better contested mark than Cameron, but they're both super quick. And that's Georgiadis' greatest strength, is he's lightning quick on the lead. And then Max is probably, one who could, keep up with him in that regard. So if we were to drop Murray, I still don't mind the idea of Max being the guy who plays on Georgiadis at times. I think that's quite clever, actually. I'm not sure they'll do it, but we did it on Cameron.
Yeah, we kind of handed off on Cameron, didn't he? Because he has a propensity to go up the ground these days, and at times he's playing up on the wing. And we kind of let Max go with him when he was away from, say, the inside 30. And then he kind of handed off to one of the bigger fellas when Cameron was playing deep and they were dropping on his head. So, to give you an idea of Murray's stats, he had 13 kicks, 4 handballs, 2 tackles, 7 marks, 7 contested and 11 uncontested possessions, 3 rebound 50s and 7 intercepts. I mean, by any standards, that's a bloody good game.
Absolutely was a good game.
At offenders in general, Brownie. No, I was going to say, Brownie, at offenders in general, I mean, sometimes I get worried when our defenders seem to have our most touches, because that was the case earlier in the year when we weren't going crash hot. But it's not quite emblematic of how the game actually played out. It's just they all played so bloody well, and they all got heaps of it. And a lot of it was intercepting, contested marks, actual, not just cheap stuff. I think that was probably the best all-round performance from our back 6 or 7 for the year, especially when you consider the opposition is one of the highest scoring teams this year. So to keep them to 62 points was like just a fantastic result.
Brownie, you'd like to add to that?
Oh, I can't add to that. I can't improve on the big man sometimes.
Heavy praise. I mean,
Big
we might
line,
as well
mate.
cover it all three. James Borlase, 10 kicks, 5 handballs, 2 tackles, 9 marks, 5 contested possessions, 10 uncontested, 2 rebound 50s and 8 intercepts. I mean, between the three of them, if my memory's right, that's about 23 intercept marks between the three big fellas. I mean, you can't ask for more than that. That's pretty powerful. Brownie.
Absolutely. I thought Borlay's his absolute, like, his one wood is his ability to spoil. Like, he very rarely jumps at a ball and doesn't get a fist to it. But this week he really he came good in terms of his marking ability. He seemed to have more confidence in or better decision making, knowing when to mark and when to spoil. And he probably actually marked more than he spoiled, I reckon, this game. The only negative, as I was saying to Big Man when you were indisposed, was I noticed how bloody slow he was and how far his player got away from him at times. His player was running back towards goal and he got caught out. He was like 20,
Yep.
25 metres behind. And luckily the ball didn't get delivered properly or he would have been exposed. I do think that is a potential issue with some sides that they're going to exploit with him. But in
Yeah.
terms of his game on the weekend, I thought his game on the weekend was fantastic. His kicking is okay, but he generally kicks long down the line. And yeah, probably a case of it would be nice if someone had come past for the handball. Now we've got more distributors. That might start happening a bit more now because we've got sort of 3 options with Miller and
Mm.
Hall Kahan Hall or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Come on,
so
do
I
your
think we've got
research.
and with no, just
I even saw bloody Landy give a bloody hand pass to a receiver from a mark the other day on Saturday. I couldn't believe it. Did you see
Credit
that?
where
Pops?
it's credit where it's due. I think Laddie's had a pretty good 2 or 3 weeks, to be honest.
No, he was great. I'm not having to go at him. I'm just saying, even Laddie was getting in the handball action, which just suggests that the mindset of the team's changed a bit for the better. But
100%.
yeah, you mentioned about Borley is like, yeah, he's never going to be the quickest guy. He's all shoulders, isn't he? And
Yeah, that's where the wind
he's
drag
gonna be
comes
pretty
in, I think.
Yeah. I think he's probably a bit more mobile these days than previous. I think he's the leanest I've ever seen him. But he still managed to still have that body strength. But yeah, I mean, it is a bit of an issue if he's put it this way, if he's the last man and there's a opposition player goal side, I don't think he's going to catch him. So, but I think he's pretty smart ball lays. He plays to his strengths and he's also aware of his weaknesses and he's pretty good with his positioning to not get caught offside too often.
Yeah, I actually, someone pointed out in the chat, I think it was Munjit, pointed out in the chat that Laddie's been a lot better since the CrowCast drink stay at the Pano when Laddie was sitting in the corner, Brownie. And maybe he was just feeding off us. Maybe just like, that's what he was there for, just to feed off us, get a bit of energy.
Yeah, it could possibly put a mic on our table without us knowing, and he
Well,
might
we
have
wouldn't have seen
heard
it.
some of the
Because those tables are quite high. He could have been hiding underneath.
It could have been half. He could have been there for hours. But there was probably a bit of negative talk about him when he was there, so his ears would have been burning. That's for sure.
Buddy Magic, did Laddie block you on Twitter? What the heck? You're almost unblockable. How the heck did that happen? Put it in chat. I'd love to know. Anyway, in the interest of going through the defence, Max Michelani also had a bit of an understated game. 14 kicks, 6 handballs, 6 tackles, 6 marks, 4 contested and 16 uncontested possessions. What? Perceived negative stats? Bloody hell. 5 rebound 50s, 4 intercepts. Didn't notice a lot of Max, but then when you looked at the replay, was kind of always there around the ball.
Yeah, I thought it was his best game for the year. I was like he took 6 marks, he had 6 tackles, he was just involved. And he's starting to look like he was in that purple patch last year, where he's got a bit more time. His decision making's better. He's using the ball really well. Yeah, and when he starts to take a few marks, you know that he's going okay. But no, I thought he was pretty consistent for the whole game. I thought they're definitely in our top 5 players.
Well, it was that kind of game, wasn't it? It was a pretty even spread of players just doing their bit when they needed to, going when they had to go, and that's probably indicative of his stats. Wayne Miller off halfback was also very good. Come on, Mr. Statsman, bring that up. There he is. 15 kicks, 12 handballs, so that's 27 touches, 1 tackle, 6 marks, 4 contested, 22 uncontested, 4 rebounds, which surprised me. I actually thought he had more than that. 1 intercept, 4 score involvements. Obviously, also kicked a goal. Just turning in a year. Clearly, big man, All Australian squad conversations at the very least. He'll probably suffer from the Adelaide curse and not get a jumper in the final squad. But I can't really think of too many better halfbacks, more consistent. Maybe Impey would have his measure, but he's certainly in the conversation, isn't he?
Oh, definitely. And with Sinclair getting injured, that's another one who's probably in that competition, but that's going to affect him now. So the fingers crossed that Junior stays fit. But we played in 14, 15 games, and he's been good to excellent, I'd say, in the vast majority of them.
Yeah.
And that's probably something we hadn't really seen from him in the past, even recent years. He's had some good games here or there where he reminds us of how good he actually is, but he wasn't able to sort of string those together. But this year, he's just every week he's turning up. I loved how he was so willing to break tackles on the weekend.
Yeah.
You just can't bring him down. He's so strong. And he got a bit lucky with one of those fens on Kyle Chandler. But, we praise him every week, don't we? But for good reason. He's having a super year. It's just the consistency that I'm loving.
Well, I'm conscious that we've canned him quite often over the last 3 or 4 years. So credit where it's due, Brownie, right? He deserves it at the moment. And, playing beyond our pre-season expectations, but certainly living up to the hopes that we've had for him.
Yeah, I saw an interview with him, I think, after the game where he actually acknowledged, the fact that he had a full pre-season. And he even made a comment about that he's sort of, in a good place with the lads, almost like he feels like he's part of it now. Because
Interesting.
he's done a full pre-season. He said the relationships are really good. So for him to say that, he must be in a really good place at the moment. And like he might have had a couple of games where he wasn't, in our top 5, but he hasn't had many. He's been in our top 5, I reckon, 11 or 12 weeks this year. And again, I didn't really notice him much on the weekend, except for that, like, a couple of times when he broke tackles and he kicked that beautiful goal off about 3 steps. But they're good when they're racking up 27 possessions, and I'm not really noticing him that much because I'm just expecting it now.
Yeah, and interesting because you mentioned his good season. I just chuck up because I didn't do it. On Tuesday night, which was kind of remiss of me. So I should do it now. That, you idiot. I'll just, you talk about Miller's season. I mean, I didn't put up the best and fairest on Tuesday night, so I'll put it up now. And this is not including the Melbourne game, so this is after the Bulldogs game. Dawson 15.7, Miller on 12.9 in second, Berry quite a way back on third, 7.74, and then off to Rochelle, Lockie, McAndrew and a few others. But, Miller has been there or thereabouts in that best and fairest count all season, and deservedly so, as you rightly point out, Brownie. It's just been a fantastic year by the young man, and great to see. So good on him. We might as well polish off the back 6 and have a look at young Hugo, who's just taken all before him, which has just been such a fantastic thing to see. 18 kicks, 5 handballs. I don't think he's had less than 20 disposals in the 3 games that he's been in. 3 tackles, 9 marks, 3 contested, 18 uncontested possessions, 3 rebound 50s, 1 intercept, and 6 score involvements. We talk about Keane's confidence coming back. Keane's got a fair few AFL games under his belt. This young lad's had 3, and yet he plays with the same level of confidence when it comes to his kicking. Brownie, it's just added another dimension and taken the workload off Miller, as we said earlier.
Just this confidence to break away and actually take risks. We haven't seen that from, apart from Miller doing a little bit, we haven't seen that for a few years, and he just looks like he's been playing this level for 4 or 5 years. He doesn't look like a rookie. 9 marks for a guy playing his third game in a high pressure game. I know a few of them were probably just chips, but he did take a couple of really good contested marks, and his ball use is really consistent. Like, I think he's just got a beautiful kicking style. So I wouldn't expect that that's going to change. And he's another one. Like, he's come in late in the season, but like, there's no way that he's going anywhere. He's earned that spot now, and there's no way a Hinge is going to come in and take his spot.
No.
He's going to have to earn it now. He's there to stay, and it's fantastic because I think we needed that injection of youth, and now we've got that sort of more consistent injection of youth. We're playing better footy.
Well, you mentioned Hingy, Brownie, and Big Man. You'd have to think that now that we've got so many taller options and mid-sized options down back, that which was Hinge's strength, his versatility to play tall or small. Hingy be in a bit of strife now, I reckon.
Yeah, I was just going to say with Hugo, I mean, he'd be loving life right now, wouldn't he? 3 games, 3 wins against top 8 teams. 2 of them on national television Thursday night games. It's a crazy start to his career, but I think he's got better with each game in some ways. And Brownie waxed lyrical about him, but for good reason. He's playing so well. I love that little step he does to get around opponents, which is a great little trick to have, and then it's just his ball use. Seems to have great vision of targets upfield, and he more often than not hits them. And he weights his kicks really nicely. It's not just all big long kicks or it's daisy cutters. He's got a bit of an assortment of kicks in his arsenal. So, I mean, I couldn't be more happy for the lad. And you're right with Hingy. Like, it's going to be. I mean, I think in our best team at some point, Hingy probably sneaks in, but when you base it on how he's travelled this year with injury, and then last year he struggled as well, and the rise of blokes like Hugo Hawke-Hahn and Nankervis and others, it's going to be hard to find a spot for him. I mean, it's handy to have him there in reserve for when he gets back, but he certainly can't push anyone out based on form just yet, and not for the foreseeable future anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't think. I mean, I would love Mitchell Hinge. Like, I've been one of his fans since he came in. But I just can't see a spot for him at the moment. I really can't. It's a
long year. And look, Hugo might hit at some stage.
Yeah, I'm talking about, as it stands at the moment. And you're right. Yeah. And look, won't Hugo be better with another 5 kegs on him of muscle and 20-odd games? I mean, I'm just excited to see what that lad's going to bring going forward.
Sure.
Now, this might shock you, and I haven't really heard his name spoken about much in dispatches, but I actually thought Alex Neil-Bullen was integral, along with Milk, in our transition play on Saturday. I thought he was really good. 12 kicks, 4 handballs, 4 tackles, 5 marks, 7 contested, 10 uncontested, 5 inside 50s, 386 metres gained and 6 score involvements. That's the kind of game I want to see from A&B. Busy, in amongst it, up and back, positive ball movement, not just the get the ball and force a stoppage situation. And he seems a little bit lighter to me, Big Man. Like, he's certainly in good nick at the moment.
I believe I even saw him break a tackle, which
Yes.
I don't think I've seen since he
I
arrived
know.
at the club.
Yeah, I fell off my chair
So
at that point.
that caught me off guard, but you know, he was good. He's pretty consistent nibbler. He usually gets his 15 to 20 touches and does a lot of things I'm sure the coaches rate that we probably don't see on the, you know, at the game or on the telly. But I agree. I thought his willingness to move the ball on quickly and make quick decisions to keep, you know, the ball rolling stood out, and that was sort of flowed through the rest of the team. But he was certainly a part of that. And then some of his, you know, decision making, particularly the forward half. There was one or two dump kicks, you know, he got, but apart from that, I think he was pretty good. I mean, he's a tough one to judge because he doesn't really play too many bad games, but he doesn't have too many big games either. So, you know, how do you judge a guy like that? But at the same time, I'm glad, you know, you're giving him some credit, because I'm a fan, but I've been a bit disappointed at times with him. But I agree. He looked, I mean, he's not, I wouldn't say he's lighter because he's the fittest guy at the club, but maybe a little nippier. There's a couple of times where he showed some turn of speed that I don't think we've seen a whole lot since he's got here. So
just a little bit more lateral movement, a little bit more agile, I felt. I don't know. Maybe the wet deck suited him. Maybe he's one of those horses. Brownie, was it noticeable at the ground? Because I think, to your point, big man, I think the way to judge Neil Bullen is on his impact, and that's probably what I felt was the best part of his game. Most of what he did had an impact, rather than just being a link man or a Dow player. Brownie, it felt like he had a bit more say in proceedings.
Yeah, well, to Big Man's point, I thought his disposals were definitely more effective. I thought he moved it on a bit quicker. He found sort of some lateral sort of targets, and he didn't dump kick or you know, just dump one down the line like he quite often does. Yeah, I just thought he was a bit more impactful on the game than he has been, and I've been a bit underwhelmed by him this year at times. But I thought that was probably the best game he's played this year. He had one belter of a game last year that I can still remember, where he
it's
had high
Gold Coast.
possessions. Yeah, it might have been, and he had high possessions, and he was pretty effective. But this was for a 20 possession game or whatever it was. It was it was a pretty good game, and his work rate is unbelievable. Yeah, you can't knock him if he can do that every week. That was more of a finals like game, and he sort of delivered. And I'm hoping it's not like you say, just the fact that it was a wet deck and it suited him better.
Now we're 1 minute 14 into 1 hour 14 minutes into our stream, and if you add 1 and 1 and 4, that makes 6, and that's Tony Modra's number. And quite how impressive was that to get there? Because we've had Nathan in the YouTube chat give us a couple of bucks. Thanks, Nathan, for your support, and just saying great win for Mods. And I guess we should pause at this moment and just acknowledge initially how horrific it was to hear about what had happened to Tony last week, and what a relief it was to hear subsequently that despite some fairly nasty injuries that are going to take a while to recover and bring his attractive rating back down to our levels, he's going to be okay. And it was fantastic to see that Godra banner there on Saturday. I haven't seen that for years.
That was the original too.
It looked like
or whatever it was. So.
Shout out to whoever that was. That was fantastic. A, to have kept it, and B, to have brought it out. That was really, really good. Sure.
I mean, I felt sick when I heard the news on Thursday night.
Yeah.
I thought, here we go. This is, this doesn't sound good at all. When you hear the words "fighting for life," but thankfully, it didn't take too long before we started getting some encouraging reports, and it certainly made me feel better about the situation. But yeah, poor bloke, and just a shout out to that old woman who was there, helping him out. What an absolute angel she is. I can't imagine the relationship they'll have now, going forward. It was so important that she was there, because who knows what would happen. So, incredible by her, incredible by Mods to fight through it, and come out on the other side. And I mean, who cares what he looks like? The important thing is that
100%.
he's still alive and kicking. And I'm just so wrapped that it's all okay, because at one point, I was so concerned.
Yeah, it's just and Brownie, that's not a busy road. I mean, it was so lucky that lady, I think her name was Linda, happened to be driving there at the time, because he could have been sitting there for long enough that it became a real issue, because he was bleeding quite badly. And such a freak accident to have. Like, initially it was reported that he hit a tree, but he didn't actually hit a tree. The tree hit him.
Just wrong place, wrong time, unfortunately. But yeah, he was lucky that she turned up, and also the first responders, from all reports, got him out of the car and drove him to the Victor Harbour Hospital, which was
Yeah.
probably saved probably 45 minutes waiting for a bloody ambulance to get there and everything else, and that had a big impact on him getting treated quicker. So yeah, it's just such a good bloke. You never hear a bad word about him. Like, he
No.
was, he was the playboy and the pretty boy as a footballer, but they reckon so down to earth, a pretty shy type by all reports, and
Yeah.
you never hear a bad word. Just such a really unchanged, even with all his success, he never really got a big head. He was always the same person. So
Yeah.
fantastic that he's showing signs of improvement, and we just hope it continues.
Well
Yeah,
said.
and Vardy raises a good point. There's a couple of years ago, there was some weird internet rumor that went around that he died in a car accident. So when I actually saw it posted in our chat on the night, I thought, oh, here we go again. And I think it was a couple of bus stops, I think, was the one that posted it. And I was just about to have a crack at him for, paying attention to internet bullshit. And then it came up on media, and I was like, oh my God, that's such a coincidence. And, at that stage it sounded quite dire. So, look, we obviously wish Tony and his family all the best, and it'll be great to see him hopefully recover, to a full extent. And he's been such a great clubman too since finishing his AFL career. And, there's been a few blokes alienated from the club over the years, but Tony has certainly become an integral part of the off-field fan engagement and all the kids' engagement and all that sort of stuff with clinics. It's just a fantastic fella. So glad to hear that by and large he seems to be over the worst of it now, and it's a matter of, recovery. All right.
Well said.
Thanks to Nathan for posting that up, and thanks that you did it at the 114 mark, and I was able to make some convoluted segue. Oh, thinking on my feet.
No, you did well, mate.
Thinking on my feet. All right, now we better just make you happy, because you're not feeling well, big man. So let's have a look to one of the key influencers of the Crows these days, Zach Taylor. 8 kicks, 10 handballs, 2 tackles, 1 mark, 8 contested possessions, 10 uncontested, 2 inside 50s, 148 metres game, 5 score involvements. Exactly the same KPI, I reckon, big man, with Zach, as we mentioned with Alex Neil-Bullen, and that's impact. And he is learning very well how to impact games now, which is exactly his remit in that graveyard slot.
Yeah, he's definitely more involved over the past 6 weeks or so compared to how he was going early on, and even last year when he was playing this similar role. I think he's obviously that's just come with more experience and figuring out where he should be running and what he can do. And it wasn't an outstanding game by any means, but I thought right from the outset, he had an impact with his creative handballs, that one to Dawson for his goal, and some of his contested work was really strong. He's just a dogged fighter, but then when he's got ball in hand, he's so clean and classy as well. And he'll sum up situations, and sometimes he looks a little casual at times, but I love it. I think you just feel like he's going to make the right decision whenever he's got the ball. So I mean, it's interesting to listen to Burnsy. Burnsy still thinks he should be playing midfield at some point going forward, and I still think that's the hope, but I think he's carved a nice little niche for himself with this half forward role, he seems to have figured it out and seems to be enjoying himself, and he's definitely having a positive impact on the on our results.
All right. Now calm down because you're not well, and your heart rate's just gone up to about 120, and perhaps you need a little moment to yourself. So, Brownie, what are your thoughts? Just like while we let Big Man compose himself.
Let him just calm down a bit. I just think he, unlike I think at the beginning of the year, he still looked like a player that was playing for his life. He just looked like a really confident player now. He looks like he knows he belongs in the team, and he just looks like he's confident when he gets the ball. He doesn't rush. He's got time. Um, he's actually, I think he's moving up the ground a bit more to get ball now as well. I think he's got a bit, whether they've given him a bit more freedom or he's just taken the license to do it. But I think that's got him into the game a bit more, and he's getting the ball in positions that are good because he uses the ball well and he's helping us sort of cut through and move the ball forward. So I actually like him when he's up the ground because things tend to happen when he gets the ball. I think he's never going to be a player that's going to get 28 possessions, but if he gets 15 to 20 and they're quality, he's a bit like Braden Cook. If Braden Cook gets 15 to 20, he's got such quality that's enough. You don't need everyone getting 35. There's only so many Jaycockers in the team. Yeah. So no, I reckon it was a good game, and I'm just liking him. It took me a while to warm to him, but I don't know if it's Big Man banging on about him for the last 8 weeks that's done it, but I'm starting to really warm to him, and I reckon he's probably got upside still. Like he's just starting to get that confidence, and I think there's a bit more in the tank.
So just on that, because obviously Taylor's Big Man's man, and Barry's been my man for quite some time. Who's yours, Brownie?
My man's been Nank. You know that.
Nank? All right. Well,
do you think there was someone else? Did you?
Oh, look, I'm not casting aspersions.
I've got another one I want to talk about in a minute too, but you're going to think I'm an idiot.
Well, I mean, Let's talk about Nank first, because I thought you were giving me a nice segue there, and I've already got his stats up now. 13 kicks, 9 handballs, 5 tackles, 9 marks, 7 contested possessions, 12 uncontested, 174 metres gained, 4 score involvements. I'll just chuck up his contested marks there too. 2 contested marks. As the third wingman, like the wingman rotation, which seemed to be how they were playing him on Saturday, he did an exceptional job, and he's the perfect. Like that's exactly where I reckon he needs to play, Brownie.
Yeah, and he plays a bit taller in the air than he looks. His marking was
got Stephen Copping
really,
arms, mate.
Yeah, long arms, and he just jumps at the right time. But he took a couple of really good marks in defence. He's just got that step as well, like Big Man talks about. That he just got that X factor, and he's another one that's been given enough games that he's starting to believe, and he looks so much more confident. The last 2 or 3 weeks, he's just gone to another level, I reckon. And he's gone.
No, I was just going to say, and Jay Canty in the chat said it as well, that Nick's in his presser was saying that Luke's learning when to do the Miller evasion and when to just do the high percentage, give the ball off kind of thing. So that was obviously their knock on him, that perhaps he was trying to do too much with the ball or wasn't playing the team ethos with giving the ball. I don't know, but he's I reckon probably his best game for the club.
I think so. And there were a few games late at the end of last year and early this year where he did get caught a few times, where he probably could have taken the first option and he tried to get around, break a tackle or step around the player, and he got caught.
Yeah.
And that's and I think Nick's exactly right. It's a matter of learning when to do it, when not to do it, and he got the balance perfect on the weekend.
Yeah, big man, it's one of those things, isn't it? Because you like a bloke to play with a bit of flair, but he's got to know when to hold him and know when to fold him. And I think that Nixie's probably right in that regard. That I think Nankervis has been treated a bit harshly, but I don't think Nix is mistaken in saying that Luke needed to learn when to go and when to hold.
I actually almost had him, when we're doing the votes, I nearly had him in my best 3 players on the ground. He wasn't far off it, I reckon. He was, you talk about that aerial stuff. And, I mean, he was so confident in the air. He just looked like he was going to mark every time he was in that sort of pack situation. And, we've been banging on about this guy for a long time now. And,
yeah,
I mean, I was hearing people even going into this game that were saying, Nank's on the edge, he could get dropped, and he needs to show, that he belongs and that he's worth a spot in the team. And it's like he must have read those messages, because he almost from the outset, he just went, yeah, I'm going to dominate today. And he barely put a foot wrong, literally. I mean, he ran at 100% disposal efficiency. But it wasn't just that. It was just his ability to win contests. As you talked about, know when to give the first option, but also when to use his tricks, because he does have that beautiful sidestep. He has that ability to shrug tacklers, even though he's built skinny. He's got that really strong, wiry strength. And he's just a multifaceted player. He does a bit of everything. He's courageous. He's, as we said, he's got that lateral movement. He's got a bit of speed, and he's good in the air and on the deck. I mean, I think there's so much for this bloke going forward. There's so much potential here. It's just a matter of pumping consistent games into him and making him feel like he belongs. And I'm hopefully we're stepping towards that. I still think, he's probably one of the first out, should he drop off with his form. But I really hope that he just keeps going and makes the spot his, because I think he's part of our best team. And going forward the next 5 years, I think he's got too much to offer to not be in there.
Well, I think he could benefit from the Braden Cook treatment, A lot of people in the chat agreeing that he just needs to run a games. And, Braden has shown what happens when you give a talented lad some confidence by giving him a run of games. And I think that's exactly what Nate needs. And I think we've got the opportunity to do that given our draw over the next 6 weeks or so. And he's earned it. Like, he's earning his spot. And if that means that we have more flexibility. I mean, Nat can play down back, he can play on wing, he can even pinch up forward if needs be. So he's a versatile player to have sitting on the bench and being part of different rotations. And hopefully the coaching staff continue to show some trust in him, because I agree. I think he will pay them back in spades. Now, Cons was right in the chat. I was just letting you blokes have your moment before I highlighted a young man who's doing all right at the moment, Sam Berry. Not having a bad season, really. What did he have this week? He had 24 touches, 10 and 14, 7 tackles, 11 contested, 13 uncontested, 1 contested mark, 2 inside 50s, 2 centre clearances, 5 round stoppage, and a lazy 8 score involvements. Well, I'm not going to go on for months about this, but I reckon he's almost our most important midfielder, Brownie.
Well, without doubt. And he's just gone to a new level this year. And to the point where even the commentators are acknowledging how consistent that he's been, and his ability to break away from a stoppage and hit a target. Even that contested mark he took, I think in the last quarter, was like, that was really, really, really strong. But his work ethic, his tackling, he's another one. Like, there's 4 or 5 players like with Berry and Nank and Taylor and Cook that they've just given them a consistent run, and we're getting the benefits of it now. And hopefully the same will happen next year with a few of our younger players. It's too late this year to blood anyone else now, because we've got a bit of a riches of talent. But he's at a point now where you can trust him. Like, he's going to deliver every week. He mightn't have 25 kicks every week, but he's gonna get some clearances. He's going to apply pressure. He runs so hard both ways. I just reckon he's been brilliant. And part of the reason why overall we've competed in the midfield a lot better in the last probably 5 weeks, because Dawson's been at a high level. He's been good. Well, last week's league I was good. He sort of fell in a hole this week. But overall, I think like Peatling did a job this week as well. Our midfield's starting to look better, and he's a big part of it.
Now, pardon me, big man, I saw that you passively aggressively in chat disputed my claims and put Jordan Dawson in there. Geordie's probably our most important player, but I would say in terms of at the way our midfield works, there's no one more important than Sam, because he's usually the first hands.
Oh, look, that is true. I just, it's just a funny comment because Dawson's been probably the best midfielder of the last month in the AFL. But
best player, maybe.
No, look. Did you listen to hear Nixie's comments after the Western Bulldogs game about Berry?
Remind me.
They asked him, did he think he'd be this good? And Nixie said, yeah, I actually did.
Yeah, I don't believe that.
Well, he said that the first preseason he had him over for something, and he did like some massive jump in the basketball court or something, and he thought, gee, this guy's got a lot of power, and he just said it's just a matter of harnessing that and all that. So it was an interesting answer from Nixie, actually. It wasn't just the usual waffle, but it was. I mean, I was going to ask that for you now. Like, did you think he'd be this good this year?
I knew that he had it in him, and the reason why I've always pushed for him to get more games is because that's what he needed. And his development was so stunted, particularly when they decided to make that call with Matt Crouch coming back in whenever it was, 24 or 23 or whenever it was. And I felt it really put Sam back a peg, not only in terms of his games development, but also just his confidence. And when he was getting played, he was often getting played off a half-forward line and all the rest of it. And you could tell what he was. He was just an out-and-out Bulldog midfielder. And but I think Sam has forced the issue with them because of the work that he's done over the off-season. And, a lot of people thought that the performance against John Newcombe in the Hawthorn final last year was the end of Sam Berry. But Sam Berry decided to make it a springboard into, getting to the next level, which is an absolute credit to the lad. And the fact that he's been able to do that, and probably, I can't wait until he matches up again in a final against a quality midfield, because I don't think he'll be the same Sam Berry as he was in his debut final last season. I think him, as well as a few other players, have got a point to prove. But it's a real credit to him that instead of, thinking, maybe I'm not good enough, and just, going back to the pack, he just put in the work. Obviously, worked on his explosion out of contest, worked on his disposal, worked on his ball handling. And, I think what we're seeing now is the fruits of his labour, but also the result of his talent.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a couple of times where I'm like, he gives a handball that I'd rather not give, or little just bit of decision making. But like there was that passage in the last quarter where he sort of sidestepped a player, a Melbourne defender, and then about 10 seconds later took that contested mark.
Yep.
So this guy looks like he just looks like a different person out there. He's got a bit of swagger, and he looks so confident in himself. And you said
looks like he's part of the team. Feels like he's part of the team now.
Yeah, and he's obviously put in the work behind the scenes to do that with the mindset, coach, and all that. But you'd be wrapped for him, but I've been so impressed, but particularly his last 8 weeks. I think he was all right at the start of the year, but he's really got motoring since probably round 5 or 6, and he's doing some pretty, and it's the consistency too, just every week now.
Well, I should send him a carton of beer or something, because he's probably saved my ass, because I've, on the back of a couple of really bad calls, Harry Schoenberg let me down and probably would drink all the beer that I sent him really quickly. I made a call on Harry that wasn't on the money, unfortunately. Big Elliot Himmelberg, I thought was going to be something, and he let me down as well. So all my chips were in on Sam Berry. So thanks, Sam, if you're listening, because you saved my credibility, the last shred of my credibility, Brownie. Do you reckon I've got much credibility left?
I think that was the last shred, and you're hanging on to it at the moment.
Hanging
We'll
on.
see how you go in the long term. Hanging on.
Well, I have made
We don't get
the
more up,
I have made
I thought,
the 16 wins Jordan Dawson Brownlow medal calls. So. Oh yeah,
that's
but
true. Well,
B-Packer brings up that I said that Kane shouldn't play, but I think I wasn't a bloody orphan when it came to Mark Kane. I don't think there were many that expected him to come back the way he did, so you can stick that one.
I thought Mitch Grigg was going to be a really good player for us. So
Oh,
we don't
yeah.
get them all right.
He was a bloody tease too, wasn't he?
Yep.
All right, let's have a couple of look at a couple of the other midfielders. Mr. Dawson had quite a game by his standards. Obviously, they would have put a hell of a lot of work into him, and also, he can't be bloody Superman every week. But still had 18 touches, 11 kicks, 7 handballs, 6 tackles, 4 contested possessions, 14 uncontested, 4 inside 50s, 1 stoppage clearance, and 8 score involvements still. So still had an impact on the game, was just probably more in and out of it than he has been over the last 3 or 4 weeks. But I think the most pleasing part, Brownie, about Jordan's game was the fact that we didn't rely on it to win.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other, which is good, because you don't want that Nick Dacos factor where he's got
100%.
to perform or we tank. But I think the really pleasing thing about him at the moment is he's a goal scoring midfielder. Like, he could have kicked 3. He missed one that he'd probably normally kick, but
Yeah.
2 or 3 goals is getting pretty consistent for him the last few weeks, and that's just so dangerous when you got goal kicking midfielders. And yeah, he didn't do as much this week, but he's still bobbed up when we
Key
needed him
moments,
to, and
right?
did some
Yeah.
good things. Yeah, he's that kind of guy. He does something when he needs to, and it's probably low on possessions, but he's had a pretty big month, so I think we'll give him that.
Yeah. The other one in the midfield was Peatling, and without having seen his stats yet, I'm going to say that they weren't huge, but the game that the impact that he had was massive, because he was largely responsible for Cozzy Pickett, and they had to resort to playing Cozzy one out in the forward 50 in the last quarter to no real effect. Peatling had 5 kicks, 10 handballs, 3 tackles, 8 contested possessions, 8 uncontested, 1 inside 50, 2 stoppage clearances, and 2 score involvements. But as I said, his value was just in taking the heat off their best player and one of the best players in the competition.
Yeah, he had a really good game, and I think he had as many possessions as Cozzy, which you would have been happy if he had 5 and Cozzy had 15, but he ended up having 15, same as Cozzy. And even when he wasn't like tackling him, he was pressuring him, and Cozzy he was like had quite a few ball handling errors, and he was just feeling the pressure. And I think a lot of that was just that he had Peatling on his tail all day. And I thought, yeah, that was a pretty good game. Low possession, but he did a job, and that's all you can ask.
I'm just going to... You mentioned a comparison, so let's talk about a comparison between the two of them. Okay. Hello. There we are. 5 kicks to 8, 10 handballs to 7, so 15 disposals each. Tackles the same. Possession count the same. Because he had a couple more inside 50s, I guess. But, very, very, very similar. And probably Pickett's lowest stats for quite some time. So, you're right, Brownie. Extremely good performance. Extremely good performance.
And zero impact.
Yeah,
he had zero impact in the game, and he could have been the difference if he bloody lit it up. That could have been a different story.
Yeah.
It wasn't a super tight tag though, was it? Like it was mostly just around stoppage. Because I saw Pickett by himself quite a bit, but he just couldn't get involved. And I mean, he did have an illness during the week, so that probably didn't help either because he was quite fumbly and lethargic. Not to discredit Peatling, but it wasn't a full on tag, was it?
It was a run with, but Nix did acknowledge the role after the match, so it was certainly a role. It wasn't just the way they matched up.
I'm just happy we're doing something about opposition mids. Like, how many years have we talked about players having their career best games against us? So it's been a nice change.
Yeah, absolutely. It's you've just got to do it at times, and particularly the way the game is now, with there being a lot more pace in the game. You know, situations can get away from you very quickly, and I think you've got to be able to cool blokes down. Isaac Rankin, a good return, 15 kicks, 7 handballs, 6 tackles, 7 contested, 15 uncontested, 7 inside 50s, 1 centre clearance, 2 round stoppage, nearly 400 metres gained and 4 score involvements. A pretty solid game. I was a bit the same as you, big man. I was surprised he plays as much in the midfield, but they've really decided that Rochelle is a stay-home forward, at least for this season. Fingers crossed that Ranks can stay sound, because we want to make sure that he's right for the important stuff down the track.
Were you concerned about how much Melbourne beat us in the midfield in terms of just pure clearance numbers?
Look, I think we're never going. I don't think we're ever going to be the side that gets huge clearance numbers out of centre. I think we're much better around stoppage and general play. I think what we've got to make sure that we do is have really solid defensive structures, and we've seen where our score sources are. They're quite regularly off the rebound. So, I mean, you'd love to break even or win the centre clearance situation. But, when you're coming up against a bloke like Gawn, who not only gets his fair share of knocks, but also knows how to tap it, you probably got to accept that. And look, I'm on record as saying that Isaac Rankin is a very aggressive attacking midfielder. He's hasn't got a defensive bone in his body in that midfield. So you can't rely on him. If the ball's not in his immediate vicinity, you can't rely on him at those centre stoppage situations, because he's not looking defensively. He's looking at aggressively, attackingly.
Yeah. Yeah, and look, I guess even though we did concede a lot of those centre clearances, a lot of our ball movement was based on just getting the ball back, and then our defenders sort of went to work. So there are different ways to play. You don't just have to always score by winning every centre clearance. But yeah, I mean, it is a bit of a trend. I mean, there's no doubt we do lack a little bit for potency in there, and even with Rankin in there, we still lack a bit. But he was good. He was a bit rusty. A couple of missed kicks, a couple of handballs that were a bit too quick, but I guess even though he's 3 weeks off, that's still enough to sort of set you back a bit in terms of your game feel. But I just love the fact that we trusted him and trusted ourselves to put him straight in there, and he like I said, he was one of that first quarter. Melbourne had quite a bit of the ball, but Rankin was certainly one of our more impact players. I think he set 2 goals up in that first quarter alone. So
yeah, had a great first
hopefully, and then look, hopefully better for the run. And I get the feeling he's going to be really pumped up for the showdown, and hopefully he had a big one.
Yeah. I was going to say something. I I've completely forgotten what it was. Brownie, you would think that that Rash now is basically been assigned as a forward. I mean, if ever there's been an opportunity to put Rash through the midfield on a regular basis, it's been the last fortnight, and he hasn't done it. I think we're starting to see now that blokes have certain roles, and Rankin's role in Nix's best 23 is as a midfielder first and foremost, and hopefully they can keep him sound.
Yeah, and with Rash, well, earlier in the year, he was getting a bit of a run through, but they seem to have either given up on that, or they've made a strategic decision that he's more value in the forward line. Maybe it could be a combination. You've got guys like Pedler that aren't consistently in the forward line, but yeah, I think Rankin, he's going to get cleaner, and as Big Man said, as he gets a few games under his belt, he'll get that cleanness back. But I think the one area that he really hasn't been looking dangerous is in the forward line. He hasn't been as clean in the forward line and hasn't been threatening to score. So there's some massive upside there. He's just got to, yeah, as you say, stay. If he can stay in the park, he should be peaking about finals time, and it could be a scary thing. But I would like to see Rash, yeah, run through the midfield a little bit. I just think it's better for him to get him involved in the game. Not every game he's going to kick three, and the games that he
No,
doesn't, he's a bit stagnant.
he does seem a little bit more content, and he had 17 touches from that pocket, Rochelle. 14 kicks, 3 handballs, 3 goals, 5 contested possessions, 10 uncontested, 1 inside 50, gained 300 metres and had 7 score involvements. I mean, he's obviously having an impact, and in that last quarter, he came to the fore when we needed him with a couple of clever goals. So, there's obviously some communication there. I think there was an interview with him post-match where he said that maybe physically he wasn't up for it at the moment or something like that. I don't know. But, the team seems unified, and Rash, whereas a month ago he looked a little bit down in the mouth, he looks like he's quite engaged now, and he's certainly contributing.
Yeah, absolutely. He's looking happy, that's for sure. He's been getting on the end of a few, but yeah, hopefully that might be as a result of, like you said, they had a bit of a chat with Nex a few weeks ago, and they must have aired their concerns, and since then they've been playing with a much more positive sort of mindset and moving the ball quicker, and I think everyone seems to be on the same page and really engaged. So yeah, that's really good if they can keep it going.
Yeah. Of our tall forwards, before we get to that, it does beg the question. We were talking about our defence earlier, and we've got a similar issue coming up in attack, because we've got Archie and Pedler out at the moment out of that forward 50, and the forward line in terms of our smalls and mediums is functioning pretty well, and makes you wonder where Archie and Pedler fit into all of that. You'd imagine Archie comes in. I don't know about poor old Luke though.
So they come in forward.
Well, there's obviously a bench rotation, but we're starting to run out of those with other blokes. I mean, I don't know.
It's hard to find a player that deserves to be dropped at the moment. If you look at our starting bench, probably Saligo is about the only one you would say at the
Yeah.
moment is probably not. Like, he had a decent game last week, but that was the first one for a while. He's probably under a bit of pressure, but there's really no one else that you could say deserves to be dropped.
No, and it again, it depends, I think, on matchups and circumstances more than anything else, I think.
Can I ask you a question,
now
boss?
Yeah, you can.
One of our players, I reckon, had the best 10 disposal game I've seen in a long time.
And that would be Darcy
Who do you
Fogarty.
reckon that was? It would. I reckon that was the best low possession game, like nine marks, 2 goals, and a few of his marks in the first quarter were up the ground at crucial contested marks at crucial times to retain possession, and then a couple of decent goals later in the game. I thought it was and he was just at the ground. I was just noticing his work rate is just up and back and up and back, and he does do a lot of work where he doesn't get rewarded. But I thought his contested marks were really strong. Like, one grab really strong, and he seems to be kicking the ball a bit better again, because he had a few weeks where he wasn't really dropping it right, and he was going out to the right and missing. But he seemed to have the radar on again, and no, it was really good.
You must have read my mind, mate, because I had him queued up as the next talking point, and I agree 100% with you. And not only that, he gets absolute jack shit from the umpires. The amount of arm chops and pushes and all the rest of it he gets. If he was bloody Charlie Curnow would be a 100-goal-a-year bloody player. And I think that's what we have to expect from Darcy, big man, a workman who will work up and back, gives you everything. There's going to be times where he's got sticky hands. He's got times where he's going to be able to get some marks up forward, but he's always going to give you an outlet, and he does a lot of hard yakka. And I agree with you, Brownie. I think he had his best game for quite some time.
I feel like,
What do you think, big man?
yeah, I feel like with Fog, you sort of know pretty quickly whether he's on for a big game or not. His best games, he tends to have an impact straight away, and I think that was the case on Saturday. It just looked like he was in the zone. It was a bit similar to that game against North Melbourne a few weeks ago where he had a great game that game too. So, look, he's still a bit hit or miss in terms of what he can offer week to week, but when he plays well, he's such an important player for us because he does, offer an option, in that halfway point. It's not just all forward 50 work. It's up the ground as well. And then when he does get it, it almost always ends up in a score because he's such a great ball user and decision maker. So, I mean, yeah, you're right. 10 disposals, 2 goals doesn't scream a big game, but when almost 100% of your disposals are from marks, I think that shows you that he was finding space, but he was also working bloody hard to find that space.
Yep. Now, I can hear, Brownie, that Big Man is just about to fall off the perch, so I think we might leave the player analysis there.
It's because I ran out of water.
Yeah, no, I can just hear the voice just thinning out.
I'm okay.
Probably the two quiet ones would have been Tex didn't have a huge game, although a couple of nice plays, and Jake Saligo certainly down on last week's form. But I'm hopeful that they go in without any unforced changes. I just think they need to let this group gel as much as they possibly can now.
Yep, I'm with you. I agree. Yeah, I don't think who's going to be right to come back anyway. Archie's still a week away, isn't he?
Yeah, we'll have Worrell come back in, and he's an obvious back in, so they'll have to sort that out somehow. But I don't think Cummings still a little bit. Pedler's still 3 or 4. Archie's a couple. So Mitch Hinge is 1 or 2. As someone mentioned, we've got the issue with the second ruck. But I think that'll be on a week-by-week basis. And I actually think Lockie McAndrew is starting to show us that he can pretty much go with a tiny little chop out from Thilthorpe, and maybe we don't need that second ruck right now.
Yeah, I reckon we looked a bit better without Toby, to be honest. And Riley is a superior tap ruckman than Toby Murray anyway. So I think the key is as long as Riley doesn't have to do more than a 5-minute chop out at any time, I think he's the perfect option. And I agree. I think McAndrew is quite capable of, doing 15 minutes on the trot, 15, 20 minutes if he has to. He hasn't really shown any signs of tiring anyway. So, yeah, I think we can't really afford to be giving Toby Murray a game and knocking someone else out. I think we lose something, especially now we're big down back now with 4 guys.
A little curious stat, boss, is that McAndrew had 5 hit-outs to advantage. Thilthorpe actually had 4.
Yeah.
Which I'm surprised. I didn't realize that watching the game. So I mean that's impressive.
And a couple of those were against Gorn as well.
Yeah, so I mean it just speaks about how Filthy's so bloody enigmatic at the moment. You don't know what he's going to do. He's a bit all over the shop, but yeah, I just thought that was interesting to note.
Yeah. All right. Well, that'll pretty much rough it up. We'll have a quick chat about next week. Obviously, it's a big game with the Showdown. Port a little bit decimated with injuries, but it'll be Butter's last showdown, so you'd imagine he'd run around and get 50 touches. On merit, and given that it looks like it's going to be a fairly good week weather-wise, so it'll be quite a dry evening, this is the sort of game that we really need to pump the little brother, don't we, Brownie?
Yeah, you'd like to think so, especially they've had, 3 injuries this week, so they're going to be down on players. They don't have the depth that we've got anyway, so you'd think player for player, we hit them at a bit of a weak spot. If the weather's good and you can clean up our inside 50s, I think you'd like to think we pump them by 6 to 8 goals. But beware the injured player, they always say, the injured team, and Port they're gonna bring it regardless of who's on the park. So yeah, you never get too cocky.
No, and just for information purposes, Port Adelaide are offering Crows members a game day pass at 20% discount. If you ring the Port Adelaide Football Club and quote your membership, you'll get a 20% discount because none of the Port people are going to show up.
Is that a joke or is that true?
Of course it's a joke.
I was wondering where you're going with that.
No, they get like 10 people. Just get like 10 people there. I got a pretty good straight face.
I couldn't tell, mate. Do you think they'll get a full house? I mean, they still turn up for showdowns, don't
they? They've got no supporters left.
Yeah, but they get to wear the bars, mate. The bars.
Yeah, well, they wore the bars against the Blues today, and they still got torched.
Yeah, like Brownie said it right. Like, I always get worried a bit when teams are injured because they know they can't relax. I mean, not that they were going to relax, but it might mean a few others step up in their absence. But I mean, just across the park. I mean, we're talking about a team that's 4-10, I think, for the year.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, they've been in a lot of more games than that.
Their percentage is good.
At the same time, yeah, we are still talking about, like, I think a bottom 6 team, probably, a 13 to 14's range. So, being an away showdown always worries me a little bit because it is a different atmosphere. Makes me think we're probably not going to absolutely flog them.
What? It just echoes around the place a bit more because there's hardly anyone there.
Nah. Look, I know it's not the same Port of a couple of years ago, but you only have to think back at that bloody game where Thug Houston took out Rankin and Matt Crouch flicked the guy's hat off, and it was that night. Like they were just rabid that night. I don't think we're going to get that same atmosphere this time around because different circumstances, but it is worth noting. It's definitely not the same atmosphere for our players as a home showdown. So I'm not going to expect a big win, but I think we should get the job done. It'd be surprising if there was 2 nail-biting bloody showdowns in the same year, given the trajectory of these 2 teams. So I'll just take any win, mate. Just get a 2 or 3 goal win. I'll be happy.
Yeah, I mean, showdowns, Brownie, are never ones that you can take, with a blasé attitude. And we've had a solid run of 3 games: Geelong, Melbourne, and the Bulldogs in there. 3 solid games. There'd be a tendency at the club to just take a breath and go, all right, well, we passed that hurdle, but now they've got the situation where we're playing with expectation now on us. We're expected to win these games and win them well. So I think what benefits, perhaps not so much this week because the blokes in the twos are still kind of injured, but what will benefit the team over the coming weeks is that selection integrity piece and the fact that there's blokes that could quite easily be in best 23 forcing spots. So no time for anyone to really take their foot off the pedal.
Yeah, I reckon even if those guys are a couple of weeks away, I think the players that are on the field at the moment will be feeling that pressure, the fringe players. So yeah, they're going to be going hard. And I don't think we ever have trouble getting up for a showdown anyway. I think we always see that as it's just state pride, really. So I reckon we'll get up for it. Hopefully we're not too knocked up after that game on the weekend, but I don't think we had too many problems apart from the McAndrew knock, and I think Peatling had a bit of a sore wing, didn't he? I don't know
Peeling
whether
out a
that's
little
gonna be a
shoulder
problem.
problem. I think Borlow's at one stage that was getting his calf rubbed. I don't know, but he seemed to come back without any dramas.
Yeah.
You know, Thilthorpe's probably an ongoing watch. Tex didn't seem to have any problems coming back. So, yeah, like, touch wood, I think we're pretty sound.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right, well, Big Man's just about run out of gas. I'm starting to run out of gas too. Hopefully I'm not coming down with a bloody thing. I don't want it, thanks very much. And Brownie's holding the fort. So, Brownie, you can finish up tonight. You can give us the outro. Go ahead. Thanks, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you all for joining us and putting up with the bloke with a pretty average-looking melon there.
Wow,
Yeah, just
you can't even see Big Man.
No, I'm talking about you. Get out to the game and support. It's going to be a good game this week. I can see us winning by 6+ goals. So get out and enjoy it.
Wow.
And we'll speak to you all next week.
See,
Thank you very much, everyone.
That's my succession plan in action. Brownie, you'll be taking this shit over next year.
No, I'm not. Not a chance.
Big Man,
retiring.
You're retiring. Big Man, what's your prediction for the showdown?
Oh, what did I say? 2 or 3 goal win.
2 or 3 goals. Yeah. All right, mate. Well, I hope you're feeling
better.
better.
I said that about the Melbourne game. I said 2 or 3 goals for the Melbourne game, and that was exactly right, wasn't it? So
Almost there.
There we go.
Well,
yeah.
Broken clock and all that.
Yeah.
All right. Hope you're feeling better, mate. Go and have a lem sip. Thanks to everyone who's joined us on Discord and also on YouTube. Of course, I'll be back with Macca on Tuesday night for that shit show. But in the meantime, I reckon we'll get up by 6 or 7 goals. And until Tuesday night, thanks everyone. Stay safe, be good, and we'll see you then. Good night, all.
Good night.